Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Rockerbox TV. My name is Josh Cunningham. I'm the founder and CEO here at Rockerbox. I'm joined as always by partner in the firm and our Vice President of Business Development, Sam Monreal. How's it going, Sam?
Howdy, folks.
And today we've got a very special guest for you. We have out of Colorado, Mr. Doug Gieck, the production manager at 8Z Real Estate. So how's it going, Doug?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. As always, here on Rockerbox TV, we're trying to bring guests and topics that are relevant to you pertaining to the online lead generation game and the conversion game. And Doug, why don't you go ahead and give us a little overview? I know that you just closed out 2016 with 2,067 transactions from your team, which resulted in over $800 million in production. That's absolutely phenomenal. Why don't you give us a little bit more overview and deep dive into your team there in Colorado?
Yeah. So, we are going into this year with about 140 realtors on our team, our full roster. And that's broken down. We break it down into teams, but it's not a team in the traditional sense you might think of real estate. These are all individual realtors that the team really comes from all the help that our systems build around these agents. And we're looking for high producing full-time realtors. And that's fortunately what we've kind of come across. And as you guys well know, lead generation is such a crucial part of the business. And there's a lot of ways to go about lead generation. We have three that we really focus on. One being farming, one being Sphere, and the third piece of it being the internet side. And then really, that's my focus. As part of the business, my goal is to get about 33% of the business that we do total coming from the internet side. Well, I'm not quite there. That's the ultimate, big BHAG, if you will, big, hairy, audacious goal. That's the one we're looking for. So
last year it was close to 25%. So 25% of the 800 million. So $200 million in volume from internet leads. You may have learned a thing or two along the way. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from this. It's been 8 years of internet for me, almost 9, I guess, in April. And it's amazing how you have to adapt and change and how the environment changes. And, when we started, we were one IDX site. We were one of the only IDX sites in Colorado. Now there's, everybody has one. So you have to keep your game sharp. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, so Doug, I just want to back up here for a second because, again, as somebody that has been in the lead generation, particularly internet lead generation conversion game for a hot minute, I just want to, again, reiterate to our audience. So you have 9 years experience in online lead generation and lead conversion. You have a team of 140 agents, and from an outsider's perspective, that could look like a brokerage firm, which you guys are a brokerage firm. But I think one of the other important things to note that you told us earlier is that your agents across the board are averaging 18 transactions per year. So, it doesn't really function like the traditional brokerage firm if your agents are averaging 1.5 to 2 transactions a month across the board, across 140 agents. That's massive. That means everybody is actually producing. And then, again, the third piece that you brought up that is massive is you guys totally support these agents from the internet lead generation perspective and from the farming perspective. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah, we have full-time marketing team that takes care of that farm side, and then we have our client care team, or as the industry knows them as ISAs, that takes care of the internet side and does the digging and produces. I think traditionally people call every registration that comes in a lead. Well, certainly we hope that, but we're turning registrations into leads is how we look at it, or appointments, however you want to put the wording. And as you guys know, finding the gold nuggets within the noise. And that's really how we support them. And then we even have transaction coordinators and all kinds of stuff that support them in a lot of different ways. And I think the focus is getting the realtors transacting and actually practicing real estate, because all this other stuff is a full-time job when you get down to it and you start producing at a high level.
So before we...
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was just going to say, before we jump into your model, Doug, which, again, I'm totally fascinated. As a student of this game, I'm taking a lot of notes here as well. So, one of the things that I guess I first want to ask you is, in 9 years of doing this, I mean, you kind of alluded to it in the beginning. You guys were one of the first IDX sites in Colorado. You were one of the first sites to syndicate from MLS. So describe some of the big changes that you've seen in the online lead generation game in, the past 9 years. I mean, in the past 3.5 years that we've been doing this at RockerBox, we've seen some big changes, but, you've been in it even longer. What are some of the changes you've seen?
Yeah, and it always starts with market changes, and people really being obviously in 2008 we had a bit of a crash, and people, so primarily dealing with buyers on the internet, they had the options to choose the house they wanted to choose, and that's that was part of it. Now in Colorado, for certain, we're in a we're looking at 1.8 months of inventory in most markets, and it's a seller's market, and there's just this mad scramble. And I think what that means internet wise is we always have known that speed to lead is important, but in this market it's a game changer. So being able to direct connect, be the first person that talks to those leads, as you guys know, I mean, this is number one. This trumps anything that's ever happened throughout the history of lead gen. Being the first one in the door helps, but even more than that, we were spoiled when we had our original website, Co-Home Finder, and we were Remax agent. We were really spoiled because we could waste 5 minutes, we could waste 30 minutes, but now. Not only do you have to be first, but you have to provide major value. So you have to show these people that are all on Zillow or wherever they may be coming from, that not only are you the fastest and the most responsive, but you're also the best. You can provide value. You can, the way they need to be treated, put their interests first, and deliver the level of service that, quite frankly, we feel that every buyer or seller deserves. So that's the big one for me. Is if I had to just sum it up for a change on internet leads over the years, is you got to be prepared, and you got to know what you're going to say, and everything that you speak to better provide some sort of value to the consumer, and you darn well better be first. So that's what I'd sum it up with.
So you've seen quite a few shifts in the online lead generation game. Why don't you elaborate a little bit further on some of the frustrations or struggles that you were maybe facing with your internal team just a year ago when you and Sam first started having conversations together? Yeah,
absolutely. It's tough to put together a really good ISA team that knows what they're doing. I'll just tell you, our numbers, we have 6 ISAs right now, and they're not even all full time. So if you put it into, you think about the volume we did, the number of realtors we have, losing an ISA can be a really devastating event for us, if you think about the training that we put in and everything. So, it really speaks to how you better have a system in place that deal with that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, when I reached out to you guys, my system wasn't as sharp as I'd like it to be. And what I learned about RockerBox was truly amazing. I mean, you guys have taken a big piece of the business and made it turnkey for anybody that might need it. And big numbers, it's easy for us to fluctuate our we just did our business planning. I got a budget for 2017. I don't think a lot of people, especially a lot of boomers, Boomtown users that I talk to out there, they don't have that flexibility. So what's awesome about you guys is you can offer a premium ISA service without all that noise that I just mentioned. That was clearly one of the reasons it was very attractive to me. And I think it can't be understated. One of the things that had really attracted me to RockerBox was your ramp-up program, because there's another side to this lead gen, right? There's the ISA side where we can do everything that we do and make really good qualified leads come out to realtors. But if they're not picking up the ball and running with it on the other side, we're running in circles, right? It's kind of pointless. So is another huge piece of the puzzle that I think a lot of realtors or a lot of brokerages, when they start, they get an ISA, say, great, I can start managing leads, but they don't do the follow-up of getting their realtors on board with these precious leads that they receive.
That's a really amazing point, Doug. Definitely we saw that as well. And that's one of the reasons we developed the Ramp Up program, is because, the analogy I love to use is the ISA can only take it so far. But what really needs to happen is when the ISA hands the football to the agent on the 20-yard line, the agent still has to turn and run it into the end zone, right? They just can't stand there and wait to get tackled, which is sometimes what happens with agents who don't follow up with the leads as well as they could once they leave the ISA's hands. Because again, there is that whole speed to lead issue, that there is that still whole competitive landscape. So, Doug, and this is one of the reasons we brought you on, is because, you have, rather than, necessarily hiring Rockerbox, you've decided to develop an in-house ISA team. So I want to just get a full picture of what all goes into making that happen. So first and foremost, how many leads are you guys generating every single month online, and what are you investing in making that happen?
Yeah, I'm trying to break it down here into simple numbers. So lead gen, we spend over $30K a month in our different resources, whether that be AdWords or Zillow or Realtor.com, Facebook ads, pay-per-click, all that stuff. We're spending over $30K a month. And then you have that produces anywhere from, you guys would put me on the spot. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but it's easily 50 new registrations a day, and I mean it's probably 200 contacts, new-ish contacts a day. I think you guys, we went over our specific numbers a little bit. I don't have them in front of me, of course, but it's a lot. It's a ton of leads, and so that's the very front end of the funnel, right? And then the middle of the funnel is getting this IS team together that can work it. And you're looking at, of course, hiring is just, it's time consuming. And if you're doing hiring right, you're finding the right people. It's a time suck, and it's difficult. And it costs you a lot of money in the long run if you don't get the right people. I got to speak to you guys on this one too. This was a huge lesson I learned just from our talks. You guys have a huge resource with the university there that you've tapped into, and that was a lesson I learned through having a conversation with you guys. I have the luxury of having the University of Colorado right here, a few miles from the office. And what I found is you find young, hungry, capable kids that for me, I'll just say the compensation is a huge deal in this industry. And for that type of person, the compensation is right. It fits our business plan. It fits our where we want to be as far as paying our ISAs. And these people are young and hungry. I mean, they get it. It's inspiring almost how much they do, and they just come here, they churn it out, they crank it. Quite frankly, not everybody has that opportunity, right? I mean, not everybody has a university in their backyard to where they can go hire a bunch of ISAs. So, again, with Rockerbox, that was a lesson I learned, but I think that a takeaway for anybody that's thinking about doing this is you guys have those people and you hire them regularly, and they don't have to worry about finding that person. And if they were to compare because I've done it each way. I've done it, full blown, full time. Let's benefits, all of it, where you're spending a significant amount of money on your ISAs and putting a lot of time and effort into them. And then quite frankly, I've had that crash and burn where you guys have a fixed rate where you know what you're paying, and you guys deliver. You guys have an awesome system with scripts. I'm really dragging this out, but because we have all that too, and this is more stuff that we have to handle. But I think the major appeal to me for Rockerbox was, one, that you guys do it right. I mean, that can't be understated. You have lots of backers that say you do it right, and then I saw that through talking with you guys, and then for what you get out of what you're offering or what an ISA team does, it's extremely affordable. I mean, it's not even, it's laughable for people who would make an argument the other way, to me.
Right. So what I really love about this story, Doug, is that Rockerbox was founded when I was challenged by one agent who is generating about 250 registrations a month to have a good, consistent, predictable, duplicatable ISA solution. And so I had spent several years in the industry working with viral marketing, going to a lot of different conferences and events, and working with a lot of the teams, top teams like yourself. And so what I tried to do was learn as much as possible from teams like yourself, from teams like, Sam had spent some time at the How Group, but these teams that were really doing it at a high level. You're generating close to 1,500 to 2,000 registrations a month, and you have a $30,000 marketing budget. Not every real estate agent has those resources available to them. So I was trying to duplicate what a large infrastructure could create for someone, but I was trying to duplicate it for one person. And so in the initial trial and error and failing forward through all of our systems and processes, what we realized what would make it work was just, again, learning as much from those teams as possible to create a process that could be shared. So that's what you see right back here behind me. This is shared resources that we're using to service all of our clients, because not all of our clients are generating 2,000 registrations a month with a $30,000 ad spend. So I love how, again, this was all created by learning from teams like yourself. And now we're at the point where we have such an excellent case study back here where we're handling almost 15,000 registrations a month through our call center. And so it's great to be at a point in our company where we can actually now, through our trial and error, teach back to the teams like yourself some of the things that can help you improve your internal team. And so what I think, Fred, I heard from you bullet point wise, that was really important. The changes that you made in your system was going away from full-time callers to part-time college kids. And again, not everybody has a university in their backyard. But another one of the things that you talked about, we've created Ramp Up, the Rockerbox Agent Mastery Program with unlimited potential. And that's sort of our accountability program that we use to log in with our teams and screenshot and screen share, look at their pipelines and review some things. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about sort of your Ramp Up, your accountability conversations that you have with your agents? What's the frequency? What are the things that you're looking at and inspecting in, and what do the agents take away from those interactions? Because again, that's what we're trying to do through our Ramp Up program, but what are you doing internally with sort of your Ramp Up program, so to speak?
Yeah, it's over 100 hours of training and free training.
Wow.
A shameless 8Z plug here. But not a lot of brokerages do that, but we've got to get them up to speed on Boomtown. Obviously, mm-hmm. They've got to be able to use that CRM and use it effectively. How they're going to interact with client care. So, from the point that we have what we call a lead, or we're setting an appointment, how the realtor is going to handle that. And this all happens, we do what we call 8Z Academy, teaching them a whole system. This happens quarterly, and it's a 4-day super intensive, almost a 40-hour work week of training that we do to get every single realtor up to speed. We have monthly webinars. So whether that be me hosting it, and quite frankly, I host it a lot because we're trying to still Boomtown, getting people up to speed and getting that going. It's always a struggle. I don't know your guys' experience. I'm sure it's better with some than it is with others, but getting people to adopt a system that, and we've been a broker since 2010. We've had Boomtown for just over 2 years now, and we still have people dragging their feet, but they slowly see that dragging your feet in this wrong business approach, because they see, for instance, we had one agent who was a complete rookie in 2015, and he sold 10 million in volume, and he did 7 million of that from the internet, and it was a pure direct result of plugging into Boomtown. Maybe even more so than me. I was a little jealous of him. But, that's a piece of it. And then it's accountability. So we do accountability quarterly with every single realtor. It's a huge piece of our business, because if we're not getting these realtors up to speed, it's a different model, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd be charging them monthly fees, and that's just not how we work. We have a split where we invest in our realtors, and if they don't make money, we don't make money. And actually we lose money because of how much we invest with them. I mean, you guys heard our spend on leads. So if they're not turning these into closings, quite frankly, it's just a bad business model. So we have, to sum it up, over 100+ hours of training in many different modules that we use to get people, converting and doing things the right way. So,
I mean, what I heard there, Doug, is, even though you guys are a brokerage firm and have independent agents, you still upfront invest 100 hours in training. Every quarter, you have another 40 hours of training. Every month, you have these monthly webinars. Every quarter, you have regular coaching and accountability. So just because somebody is producing, it doesn't stop, right? The training doesn't stop. And by having the right systems and processes in place, in addition to your in-house ISA team and all of this training, you guys are able to take this one individual agent to 10 million in production in 24 months. I mean, that's huge right there. I think many folks in our audience would love to have, 1 or 2 agents doing 10 million in production, much less, however many you guys have, 40 or 50. And so, that's a really compelling story. And it's compelling to think about, going back to what Josh said, everything that you guys have invested, because you are a bigger business, in having all of these systems and processes in place so that you can support all of these agents. And the reality is most individual teams, that are only 4 or 5 people, just don't have the resources and just don't have the bandwidth to do that. That's why they can leverage a solution like Rockerbox to basically sort of get a piece of what a big company like yours, a big team like yours is doing that's turnkey.
Totally. If I had to rewind, right? So I started in 2008 and we became our own brokerage in 2010. And if I had to rewind, and if we were a Boomtown client and I knew what I know now, and I was looking at Rockerbox, I have no doubt in my mind we would have automatic. It wouldn't even been it would have been a 5-minute conversation in adopting you guys, because it would have saved us so much time and effort. We have the luxury of running through those walls and building truly a really cool and unique system that, quite frankly, is our culture, and we don't want to ever lose that. And it really makes us who we are now. But I have to say that you're going to, at some point, if you're a successful brokerage and you're doing internet style leads, and you're going to run into this problem. It's going to happen. And you guys make it a pretty simple solution versus hopefully they're getting a little bit out of the pain that I've gone through, and a lot of gain, no doubt, but there is a learning curve, and there's a lot of pain points to get where you're going to get to, and a lot of money spent. So, I hate to sound like I'm really beating the Rockerbox drum, but I truly am. I mean, I'm impressed by what you guys do. Obviously, you handle a lead flow that is way bigger than mine, which most people can't comprehend that. When I would talk about my lead flow, you see jaws drop, and you guys are doing 5x that. So, and if my math's right, I'm not very good at math, but yeah, I mean, it's just impressive. You guys got an impressive shop going over there.
As we know,
like I said,
go ahead.
And I was just going to say, like I said, if I rewound and had to do it over again, it'd be a pretty easy decision for sure.
Well, we'll just ignore the math because 93.7% of all statistics are made up anyway, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
So one of the things I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper in here, and I heard you kind of allude to it in a couple different ways, but culture is a hugely important thing to us. It sounds like it is a hugely important thing to you. We're right across the street from Texas A&M. It's a very tradition-rich university. So we've been able to build a really good, strong culture here within the organization. But what I want to talk about even deeper than that is really a culture of accountability. One of our core values is that we possess the mindset of a champion. And Sam and I actually just finished writing a book. It's going to be coming out this year. But one of the chapters, we talk about that, a culture of accountability, and how champions crave accountability, right? It's what helps them be recognized, but it's also what helps them differentiate themselves from the lower producers. So I would imagine through all the quarterly meetings and monthly webinars and one-on-one conversations with your team that you've very much developed a culture of accountability. And that does two things. It's going to continue to attract champions to it, which I would imagine you see in your recruiting of new agents. But I would also imagine it repels those people who don't want to be held accountable, those people who aren't top performers, who aren't champions, so to speak. So why don't you give us a little bit of insight into the culture that you've created there and this culture of accountability and the impact that it's made on your business long term?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly, Josh. It's two of our core values that kind of speak right to accountability is integrity, which is really just doing what we say we're going to do, and then second one that really ties into that is transparency. So we don't hide anything. Our realtors know how who's going to get leads, and we just don't breed that culture or envy and then
kind of locking up there. Sorry, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, can you go back through that?
Just hit the rewind button. You still there, Doug?
Are we okay?
There we go.
Okay.
Now you're back. Now you're back.
We'll just DVR rewind and play that one time.
So yeah, I was just, I think it's hard to scale accountability, right, when you get this big. But Boomtown has some of those points, and we don't hide behind failures, we talk about them. When somebody drops the ball on a lead, our ISA as part of our program is after the handoff, we have a whole follow-up process where they're constantly in contact with the realtor they sent it to through, thank goodness, through drip campaigns and automation, finding out what's happening with those leads specifically. And yeah, I mean, if it's really glaringly visible when somebody is not doing their job, and we evaluate. I mean, just for instance, every time we bring a new realtor on, you could almost call it like a trial period. We have 90 days where we're heavily scrutinizing, and I shouldn't say that, but keeping them accountable on everything they're doing and making sure they're doing it the AZ way and that they're an appropriate fit for the company. So it's maybe the most important thing, to be honest. I mean, you got to get the right people, and the right people always love accountability. They love hearing when they're doing it wrong and how you can help them do it right versus hiding in their shell and getting offensive about being criticized. So,
man, Doug, I mean, if we could just pause here for a second, because you just dropped some serious nuggets and have been all along the way. And I think it's always good to do a little recap on some of the things that you mentioned. One of the first things that you said just now was the importance of hiring right and really putting somebody into that culture of accountability from the get-go. And man, it made me so happy to hear you say something to the effect of, we don't hide behind our failures or try to hide our failures, right? And something where you're really investigating what happens with the lead once it lands in the agent's lap and making sure the agent is doing the right things to follow up on those leads, and that your lead generation department is really invested in the success of that agent performing the right activities once the lead leaves basically the ISA team's hands. Those are all things that we absolutely believe at RockerBox, because you know what? Whether it's you figuring it out or whether it's us figuring it out, there's one of the things our coach always says to Josh and I is don't work smarter, work right. And so, we're all about doing the right things. And the things that you describe are the same things that we've found with our most successful real estate teams, that if they do those right things, that is the recipe for success. Now, that's what I love about this real estate game. It's all been figured out. There's really nothing new to discover on how to run a real estate team from an internet lead generation perspective the right way. And that's what makes it so magical. Whether a company is using RockerBox or doing what you guys do and invest the hard work and labor in doing it internally, we both come to the same solution on how to do it the right way. I think that's awesome.
It's funny you say that, Sam, because our motto is that real estate's broken and we're trying to fix it. And I think, what we mean by that essentially is real estate's done the wrong way. A lot of times, you guys all know prime examples. We can all tell stories for hours on bad transactions we've seen or realtors that were just poor at their job. We can all talk about that for hours, I'm sure. But we want to do it the right way, and we want to put the consumer, the clients, we want to make sure we're putting their needs first. So we do all this to make it happen. And of course, we like to make money too. So doing it the right way, it's a good thing that that's a byproduct of this. And I can tell that Rockerbox does it the right way. It's our mission to make sure the real estate's being done the right way. Just that hit home for me.
Cool. So I think again, the duplicatable system that we're all following here is calling the leads as soon as they register, right, and having a wide availability to make sure that you contact as many people as possible right off the bat. If we don't contact them immediately, we're hustling them many, many more times to try to make that first contact. And then for the people that aren't ready yet to meet with an agent, they stay in the ISA department, in the client care department, so to speak, until they are ready to meet and receive that agent's expertise. But again, it doesn't matter how hard your ISA team works or how smart they're working the leads. If it's not worked the right way, if that handoff doesn't happen and it's a fumble, or if they hand it off to the agent and the agent expects it to just be a signed contract already, there's still the right way about going out to, like you said, some of the training that you offer, how to accept the handoff, how to receive it from the client care department, what you communicate with that lead. So there's a right way to do all that stuff. And it sounds like, again, you're constantly practicing these things and constantly developing these skills within your organization. So I just want to kind of know, because you recently, again, took a page out of our playbook. You moved to college kids. You moved to, shorter shifts. So it's high energy. But you had alluded to earlier, just the energy that these young, sharp, and enthusiastic college kids bring to the office. What are some of the college kids that you've hired? What are their aspirations post-graduation? Are you looking to get them licensed and have them become an agent? Or are they, just going to pursue other careers in sales? Or what have you kind of found with the talent pool that you're attracting to this new call center organization that you've created?
Yeah, ultimately, or my goal for anybody that comes in here is that they leave better than when they came. And I really want to get them experience, but I don't shut it down to just real estate minded kids. I really want good performers to come here because I think they can learn a lot about business in general. Mm-hmm. And those people are probably not long-term, and we know that. And that's why we have scripts and a system that we can plug and fill. But with that being said, we've also started a program that we call our Realtor Apprentice Track. And mm-hmm. what that is that they're coming in to real estate in the ISA role. They're learning probably the most important skill any realtor can learn in the business, and that's to pick up the phone and make calls. And when they learn that, we can also develop in the back end on our own pace over, we do it, if we can do it at a year accelerated or 2 years, depending on where this new person's at in their education. But our ultimate goal is to turn this person into somebody that is practicing real estate the 8Z way, as we like to say, and ends up ultimately being an 8Z realtor. And while they're doing that, they're earning some cash, they're learning how to do the business. And that's something that we actually offer to our ISAs if that's what they're interested in. If they're interested in real estate, we go right down that path, no doubt.
Yep. I would imagine they're probably not scared of the phone once they move out of that position, become a realtor. I just did a rough analysis of the last 7 graduates that we've had from Rockerbox in just the last year. 2 of them stayed with us full-time, have now moved into one as a full-time administrative role, one as a full-time sales role for us. 3 of them all walked the stage and moved into their next step of their career the next day in something sales related, insurance, automobile, and recruiting. And then we also had 2 others that were actually earning their masters while they were with us. One of them had multiple offers with a degree in master's in real estate. Again, walked the stage and walked right into his new position the next day. And another one actually was recruited away from us to one of the big accounting firms at EY. So it's awesome for us to, like you said, see these people come in, and whether they stay with us or whether they take that next step in their career, we want them to be better, when they left than when they came. And I think it's a really cool, exciting piece of this whole sort of, secret sauce that we found, which is there's these calls that need to be made, but who's going to make them? Why not find someone who has a limited, market value because of where they're at in their life right now, but there's someone who's excited and energetic and enthusiastic about growing their professional skills. This isn't the last stop in their professional career. This isn't a dead-end job for them. This is a leaping board for where they're going to go in their next step in their career. So I think that's awesome. We've already seen some of it happen internally. I'm excited to see, what you see with your graduating talent as well.
No doubt. I mean, it feels good, right? It feels good to see those kids make those major accomplishments. I'm getting to that age where I'm starting to slowly realize I'm not a kid anymore. But I get to live vicariously.
What age is that? Because I don't think I've got there yet.
Well, I guess that's subjective for everybody. But I'm 33. And it feels a little bit. I feel a little bit like I adult more than I kid these days. So. Josh, one thing you said that I think I missed when we were talking about the lead process, and I don't want it to be understated, is the nurturing of the leads. So I talked a lot about the front end and how important it is for the speed to lead, but that's one big change that I've seen. You made me think of it as 9 years of internet leads was flying through my head, but that's a big difference that we see today. And you guys, Boomtown set up perfectly, and I know you guys do it. I mean, it's a huge part of your system, and that's nurturing the leads until they're ready, because we don't see that immediacy anymore. Like when they first put the schedule showing button on websites, it was like a frenzy, right? When they click it and it was just easy to send leads. It's not about that anymore. It's about nurturing these leads for, it's funny. I just had a realtor come to me and said they're closing finally on a lead that we sent them. We nurtured it for 3 years, and they've been in 2 years in the process with the lead. So I missed that, and I just can't. That cannot be understated. So I didn't want that to go by the wayside there.
Yeah, definitely. Our number one strategies for identifying opportunities is all about the speed to lead and the first 21 days of gain. And the reason why we see that is because we live in a society now where whenever we have a question, we go to Google for answers. So that's why it's important, where if you do capture someone when they first start their home search, they first enter that emotional state of what's going on in their life that's going to cause them to move. Yeah, if you can capture them at that point in time and then get them to start establishing a relationship with your website, with your listing alerts that you're sending out, and with your regular phone calls, now you're going to prevent them from hopefully going to Google again when that next emotional activity causes them to go look for answers, right? So that's hugely important, like you said. And we also definitely want to stress when we're handing off opportunities to the agents on the team, we're looking for someone who's said that they're 90 days from making a purchase. And sometimes, depending on a person's home buying, habits or whatever, that might change or fluctuate. But one of the things we always want the agents on the teams that we work with to remember is that realtors don't actually sell homes. What realtors sell is professional services, and home buyers don't buy professional services. What they buy is homes. So you actually have two different sales funnels going on at different times. So it's never a bad idea as a real estate professional to proactively reach out and start demonstrating why someone would want to sign up for your real estate services when they're actually out on the web buying a home, right? If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I think you hit it out of the park on that too. I mean, I couldn't put it better myself. I think realtors at times, it's funny. I remember you guys, you have the strict kind of, they will 90 days, right? That's when you send a lead. I think some of my realtors would wish that we did have Rockerbox, so they didn't have to maybe, because it's hard when they've cultivated a relationship and maybe it shifts back to, they're going to be a year out now or whatever it may be. Then it's on the realtor's responsibility to do that ISA role. And that's something that's, difference between AZ and Rockerbox. And that's just awesome that you guys are willing to kind of take that on, because you're right. It is two totally different things. A realtor is a consultant, and a lot of times they have to wear both hats. They have to be the marketer that shows the right home, right? And they also have to, when it comes down to it, client the best way they can, you guys allow them to take one of those hats off, which, boy, what a stress reliever.
It's interesting because it's the same way that you earn referral business, right? You don't congratulate someone on the sale of their home and say, now here's what I need you to do. When you're 90 days from making your next real estate transaction, I need you to reach out to me. No, what do you do with referral business? You establish a long-term relationship. You establish that you're a figure of authority, that you're an expert in the industry, and that they can come to you for any questions regarding real estate if they need professional counsel. So that's how you earn referral business. So you don't want to make it different with an internet business and just ignore someone until they're ready to sign a contract. Again, we want to establish those relationships and prove to someone why they should do business with you instead of one of the other several thousands of licensed realtors in the MLS.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate all the time and feedback we've got today. Sam, do you have any other questions or comments or tidbits here? I know that we've been going on a lot of information.
No, I mean, I think, Doug, obviously you're an absolute font and well of information. You know, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best email address and phone number for them to reach you?
Yeah, Doug Gieck, and that's Gieck at 8Z, and that's the number 8 letter Z. Everybody gets that confused. 8z.com, and you can reach me at our ISA number, which is 303-543-3083. I'm here Monday through Friday, about 7 to 5 every day and during the week. So don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm on the Boomtown owners community. I fly the Rocker Box flag there for you guys because I think a lot of people need help. And I'm there if any of you boomers need any advice, anything I can tell you. And I like to learn from you guys too. So please reach out. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody who's willing.
So every time you say your company name, you always have to explain to people how it's spelled? That's
Sometimes.
You never have to do that ever.
Yeah, I know. It's but you can't change it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys' name is pure gold. I was using the pitch when I was talking about the college kids. You guys turned in the Rocker Box for me of finding the right employees in all the noise and all the dirt. I mean, it applied in everything you guys do for me. So don't you dare change it.
Well, I would say to anybody who's in real estate or considering getting into real estate, I always suggest that it's not a battlefield that you want to enter all alone, all by yourself as a me, myself, and I operation. And so I've had a lot of friends and family and associates come to me and ask me what advice I would give them about getting into the industry. What I would recommend is to join a team exactly like Doug's, because you're going to have an extremely solid foundation of support and training and marketing. And it can be a brutally competitive industry, but if you set yourself up and align yourself with a team of experts like Doug has on his team, you're going to be set up for success. And then I'd also make a pitch to any University of Colorado students. If you're looking for a paid internship in entrepreneurship, I mean, just like our guys out here, we're constantly growing, we're constantly recruiting and bringing on new team members. It's a very exciting thing to actually, while you're in school, get some of those on-the-job experiences that the classroom can't necessarily duplicate. So by all means, I would recommend you Colorado students to reach out to Doug as well. But Sam, you got anything else? Doug, you got any last words?
Well, yeah, I do one final thing. For those of you all around the country that are watching, clearly the 8Z team has got their process on lockdown. So, they serve the entire Front Range in Colorado. That's basically Colorado Springs, Denver, Boulder, all the way up to the Wyoming border. So I definitely would trust their team for my referrals. So if you have somebody that's moving out there, definitely don't hesitate to give Doug and his team a call.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah. I hope maybe we can do it again somewhere down the line.
Absolutely. Hope to see you soon. Thanks again for joining us this afternoon. And hope you got some good takeaways about this whole online lead conversion game. Doug, thanks. Sam, thanks.
Thank you.
We'll see you
next time. Take care.